This is Dennis Rinner with Golden Care. Thanks for joining us for another Fireside Chat. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the difference between being an owner versus being a renter. I'm going to take you back down memory lane here. At the age of 18, I got my insurance license and was working my way through San Diego State University selling life insurance. I learned early on in my selling career that the impact it would have on my success and the difference between being an owner versus being a renter. I'd barely gotten my license when my mentor said to me, "You need to own your own life insurance policy." I said, "What do you mean? I don't have a spouse, nor do I have any dependents. I'm single. I'm 18." The mentor proceeded to give me some of the best advice I could get so early on in my selling career. So wanting to follow what my mentor said, I went out and I bought a $35,000 life insurance policy. Of course, this was prior to Universal Life. It was more of a deposit term with a side savings. And I remember my premium way back then was about $50 a month, which was pretty high for a young student, given the fact that my rent was $150 a month. Little did I know when I made that big commitment, and yes, I did get paid a commission on my own sale. I think it was around 50%, as I recall. That decision to become an owner would later pay dividends and contribute to my success and be really a foundation principle in my training and teaching agents throughout my career. You see, but I did not know at the time was that by making the decision to become an owner, I had skin in the game. Every appointment I went on, I brought my policy with me. And when the prospect said, which they often did, "Do you have a policy?" I would say, "Absolutely." And I'd pull out my policy. The amazing thing was the prospects that I was talking to wanted to buy what I had bought for myself. I sold what I owned. I was working in the younger market, not necessarily 18-year-olds, but those in the mid-20s to around age 35 or so. And because I became an owner, it was an easier story for me to tell. Those that didn't have the same mentor as me, they were never told to buy their own policy. I later referred to them as renters. These were individuals that when they rent something, it's not the same as owning. The individuals would present the story of life insurance, but because they never made the commitment themselves to own their own policy, people could tell there was something different, something that that they could just sense about the individuals that were out selling this coverage. They were weak when it came to closing, and oftentimes they would get defensive when their prospects would say, "Do you have a policy?" Much the same way that I became an owner, it was like owning a home. I was all in because it was mine. When you rent, you don't feel that same sense of a need to take care of the house that you rent because it's not yours. It's someone else's problems to worry about. Not to say all renters are this way, but there is a difference. And when you're not paying premiums, reaching into your own pocket, you aren't, I believe, as strong in your ability to persuade because you want prospects to know that you're not asking them to do something, buying insurance, that you would not ask of yourself. There's an adage that goes like this: it's hard to be convincing if you aren't first convinced. That simple lesson of owning versus renting was responsible for me over the next couple of years of selling life insurance while I was going through college, taking 12 to 15 credits a semester, where I had the opportunity to meet my very first McDonald's manager in Mission Valley, which was a part of San Diego. And that Mission Valley manager did not know, but over the next couple of years, I actually was able to sell every single manager and most of the assistants in all the stores in San Diego. And McDonald's had quite a few stores at that time, and along with even several of the supervisors. And yes, I thought it was pretty hot stuff at that time because I was driving a brand new BMW 320i with personalized license plates. If you can believe this, the license plate said Den's BMW. I guess you have to have confidence, and I certainly did way back then because I understood how important it was for me to be an owner. And these managers and assistants were in their mid-20s to early 30s. And my story of owning a policy was an important part of my presentation. So if we fast forward all the way to today, all these many years later, it doesn't matter what you're presenting. I promise you, if you will own that story, whether it's an annuity, whether it's life insurance, whether it's a long-term care policy, extended care policy, it doesn't, a life with long-term care, it doesn't really matter. Versus if you rent the story, your confidence will show through and others will see that you believe in what you're selling so much that you actually own it yourself. These many years later, I'm even more convinced that owning versus renting is one of the intangibles that will set you apart from your competition. If figuratively speaking, you get the story of owning into your veins, it becomes a whole lot easier to get owning into your prospects' veins. Decide today that you want to be an owner versus a renter, and then go out and stick to the work until the work sticks to you, because beginners are many, yet enders are few. Be one of the few. It's a great club to be a part of. Success is yours. Thanks again for taking the time, and bye for now.